morning mga katibo and welcome to another episode of Straight Talk. I am Atty. Lia Badillo-Crisostomo. Today we are joined by someone I'm sure you'd love to ask many questions from, and we are so lucky to be graced by him today. Please welcome the Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurship, Mr. Joey Concepcion. Good morning, Sir Joey. How are you?
Good morning, Atty. Lia.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Sir Joey, let me first ask you the question. The Philippines continues to be one of the world's largest sources of immigrants and OFWs that help our economy grow. What was the state of our economy when the pandemic broke out? Kasi I'm sure a lot of people are asking about that, given many of our people returned home due to the lockdown and nawalan po ng trabaho.
Well, 24 months ago, of course, that was a shocker. Nobody expected this to have the magnitude of what we saw in last year, especially, which was the worst year in that of the pandemic, and of course the lockdowns were massive. This was and long and hard. I remember the first lockdown was maybe 30 or 45 days. And basically, the streets were empty for that period. So I guess it was a normal reaction of the country that unknowingly did not know the magnitude of this COVID-19. Back then, we had Delta, Alpha, and there was one more. But I guess we managed to.
Yeah, Sir Joey. Pero look at us now. Okay tayo, medyo nag-grow back na tayo sa ating economy. Now, my question is, we have started Alert Level 1 today. Do you think the Philippines is ready for Alert Level 1? Why do you think that is so? And secondly, do you think the people will be disciplined enough to sustain the Alert Level 1 status given that medyo bumaba na po yung restrictions nitong status na ito, sir?
Well, kung tignan natin, when we started this pandemic way back in 2020, late 2020, in fact, yung unang-unang effort ng private sector, kami ang nauna bumili ng mga vaccine ng AstraZeneca. We placed that order kasama namin yung mga LGUs. And Secretary Galvez created the tripartite agreement. Kasi yung unang-unang order, kasi wala pang, hindi pa pwedeng bumili ng government yung bakuna na it's not FDA approved. So the private sector came in and over 450 companies put money even if they were not sure that the vaccines would work. So the risk was there. And of course, these vaccines arrived about 7 months after, and towards June. And then Moderna and Pfizer, kasama ang private sector rin sa Moderna, also came at that same period. But without the courage and the foresight to put a bet 7 months before, it was a huge risk. And I think if I look back, the private sector and the public sector, the key reason why I think we have gone to this level of, I'd say, success. If you look at the 7 countries around us, South Korea, Hong Kong, Indonesia, Thailand, their cases are surging. Pero sa atin, bumababa. And that is because we put priority in the vaccination program in partnership with the government. And of course, there was also the natural immunity with people getting sick. They developed that natural immunity. Kaya we are at the best place ever. That I would say we are clearly moving towards an endemic state. And of course, there are some people out there na hindi pa bakunado and they are at risk, but they will suffer the consequence of their decision if something goes wrong with them, and sa kanila na yan, but by and large, both government and private sector really campaign hard for the Filipino people to get vaccinated, but we cannot push forever. These people are responsible enough. Now, of course, yung iba, they'll become complacent. They'll say, wag na lang yung booster shot. But we will continue to remind them because bumili kami rin ng bakuna para sa mga booster shots. And importante yan, especially the the first booster shot, no, which many are due already, especially in NCR.
Yes. Sir Joey, speaking of booster shots, do you think it's necessary for employers to require their employees to obtain a booster shot? Yun talagang imandato na ho nila para para sa work operations din nila and for the safety of the other employees within the work area, sir.
Well, with the first 2 doses, IATF came out with the ruling that kung ayaw kumuha ng bakuna yung mga empleyado, they will have to go to testing, no, either PCR or antigen. So, in a way, in the private sector, halos 100% ang kumuha ng bakuna. So, walang problema. Now, with the booster shots, if there will be some that will not want to get, then they'll have to go to regular testing at their own expense, no, which is approved by ITF on every 2 weeks, no. So, pero bihira mangyari yan kasi halos lahat ng mga empleyado namin gustong kumuha ng booster shots. But some companies, nahihirapan sila i-convince yung empleyado, but it all depends on your managers and supervisors. But in general, no, the percentage of vaccinated in the private sector is extremely high.
Sir Joey, since you are the Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurship, I'm sure na pag-uusapan ho natin yung mga ayaw magpabakuna. Meron din ho kasing mga iba na galing po sa gobyerno ang talagang very adamant into not getting the vaccine kasi they have their own reasons for whatever purpose. How do you guys remedy that? Yung mga taong talagang ayaw magpabakuna, lalo na nakaupo ho sa gobyerno at tila ini-encourage pa po yung masa na wag magpabakuna, sir.
Well, yeah, freedom of speech, we can't do much about that. We have to try to convince them also to take the bakuna. Yung research na ginawa ng OCTA, which we were part of, measured the level of those who are willing to take the vaccine, no. So nakita namin yung vaccine hesitancy ay bumaba na, no. I think to about 10%. Dati mataas yan, pero ngayon nasa 10% na lang ang vaccine hesitancy. At sa lahat ng nakikita natin, even other countries, those who are fully vaccinated, binibigyan ng mas maluwak na liberty. In other words, pwedeng dito sa Amerika, you can watch the games, the NBA games, the football games, entertainment. You can go to restaurants, So that is where they are giving more leeway, no, to the vaccinated. Pero ngayon, under alert level 1, baka mag-iba na rin yan, no? In other words, we will come to a point that the unvaccinated will just have to take, if they don't want to, then bahala sila, no? It's up to them, and it's their own risk. I don't think we can force them forever, no? In other words, kung ayaw talaga nila, it's up to them, their own lookout, no? Moving forward. That's how I see it, no?
Sir, last December 2021, you received a very prominent award, which is the Arangkada Lifetime Achievement Award, sir, which we congratulate you for receiving the same. Sir, what this has been tackled, well, you have tackled hugely the specific efforts to assist Filipinos with regard to micro, small, and medium businesses throughout the pandemic. Ano po kaya ang epekto po, sir, talaga ng pag-open ho ng Alert Level 1 sa ating mga micro, small, and medium businesses ngayon?
Well, Lia, when we started this pandemic, yung pinakauna na affect dito ay yung mga maliit na negosyante natin. Kasi yung puhunan nila at yung credit line nila sa bangko ay maliit, no? So, konting crisis, talagang tatamaan. Hindi katulad ng mga medium at large companies, mas malaking equity nila sa negosyo nila at yung mga credit lines nila sa bangko mas malaki. So, kung tatamaan sila sa pandemic, syempre medyo mahirap rin yan. Pero at least they can weather it, unlike the small, micro and small. So, this pandemic really caused a lot of disruption for many of these small entrepreneurs, which tinulungan pa namin, tuloy-tuloy ang mentoring program namin with the DTI and Department of Agriculture that we mentored in this pandemic thousands, no, of mga entrepreneurs, holding their hand, giving them confidence. But in the end, wala rin yan kung hindi mabuksan yung economy, no? Even if you mentor them araw-araw, encourage them, but their business remains closed, useless rin. Kaya pinaglaban ko that talagang dapat buksan yung economy, yung negosyo para umahon ang economy natin. At ngayon, sa crisis ng Russia at Ukraine, you cannot have a weak economy and you have this big crisis out there. Hindi natin malalaman kung tuloy-tuloy na ba to, magiging big world war, or it will just fizzle out, no? So, pero whatever it is, the country has to prepare. Especially ngayon, ang laki ng utang natin. Over close to 2 trillion pesos ang inutang, sabi ni Sexani, para sa mga gamot, sa mga bakuna, at sa mga whole health initiatives natin in the last 2 years, no? So that, how do you pay that back? So you have to, the economy has to be alive para everybody can pay taxes. Pero kung lugi lahat ng mga negosyante natin, sino bang babayan ng buwis? At yun ang income ng government para bayaran nila ang mga utang, indirect and directly. Mga excise tax natin sa mga oil, syempre tumaas ngayon. They're looking at cutting that because ang nangyari dito sa war, halos lahat ng mga commodities natin tumaas ng 40 to 50%, no? Ang laki nun. So, yung impact nun will be in form of price increases. So, first, we have to open the economy, which I'm glad that they have done to alert level 1. So, tuloy-tuloy na yan. Hopefully, makikita natin, arangkada ngayon yung economy natin. And then hopefully yung crisis sa Ukraine at Russia will temper down, no? But if not, then we prepare for the worst.
Sir, you mentioned the Ukraine-Russia conflict. Ngayon, as I understand, you already have started your initiatives as the Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurship, which is mag-o-open na ho tayo ng Alert Level 1. Do you think the Philippines, sir, would be ready for such crisis na maapektuhan din ho tayo? Kasi syempre, tayo, we're only onlookers outside. We're really not inside the conflict between the two countries. Pero ngayon, sir, my question is, do you think hindi po talaga largely makaka-affect sa atin ho itong conflict between Ukraine and Russia? And if so, paano po kaya natin mas maiaangat pa po yung economy besides sa pag-open po as Alert Level 1, sir?
Well, the way I see how we get affected dito is the prices of commodities. Yung super inflation natin o hyperinflation na katulad ng oil, yan ang gasolina, no? At yung fuel ng mga bus, jeepneys, kotse, lahat yan. So tataas yan, no? And not everybody can adjust their prices, no? So yung mga negosyante katulad namin, right, we are making bread, no? So ang raw material nun, trigo. Trigo is used for flour, and flour is coming out as bread, no? Pandesal. So lahat yan, mga maliit na bake shops at bakeries, syempre tataas yung presyo or cost nila. So they will have to pass this on to the consumer. Pero yung consumer, syempre hindi maganda pang yung economy natin. Ang iba dyan, walang sweldo pa rin or walang trabaho. So that is a challenge. But that's why we have to, the solution really was opening the economy, and it's already done, no? Alert Level 1, we have to give it time para makikita natin, arangkada yan. Because with the economy open, the businessmen are back, no? Now, of course, may konting problema, but there is still enough time, no, for these small businesses to revive themselves. Kasi karamihan sa kanila, naputulan ng credit line, naubusan ng equity. So all of that has to be refunded either by the banks or by themselves, na kung may savings sila, pwedeng ibalik nila sa negosyo nila, no?
Sir Joey, speaking of numbers, as I remember, our economic growth medyo nag-slow down from 2017 to 2019. It became negative ng 2020. Now, it has been rebounded. So, unti-unti ho tayo umaangat ngayong 2022. Now, sir, do you think magko-continue po yan despite of everything that we would be facing? Do you think that would be continuing na ma-increase ho ang ating economic growth? Kasi we are, I think, 15th among the 39 Asian Pacific countries with regard to economic growth. Do you think tutuloy-tuloy na ho ito, sir?
I think so. Very clear ang sabi ng Okta Research na yung pandemic, sa tingin nila, pababa na rin ang mga kaso. Dito sa election, kasi mga rallies ngayon, medyo maraming tao, pwede rin yan maging source ng hawaan. Pero if they practice the wearing of face mask, malaking bagay na rin yan kasi most of the rallies are outdoor. No? So I think the good part is that this administration, together with the private sector, we have really tempered down the pandemic and we are really moving towards endemic. Siyempre, iba dyan, hindi pa naniniwala na, baka papasok pa ibang variant. Pwedeng may mga bagong variant, but we should plan on the basis that you can see the results of all our efforts, both government and the private sector. Talagang baksak yung kaso natin ngayon. And hopefully, we maintain it. And tama rin ang ginawa ng IETF that prior to an LGU getting alert level 1, he has to attain a high vaccination rate, the population. Let's say in the case of NCR, umabot kami ng 90 to 100%. Kaya the threshold is 70 to 80%. So okay na yan. I think eventually, mas madami yung mga LGUs dyan will be able to reach 80 to and above %. So more economies in the different parts of the country will be able to move down to alert level 1. And alert level 1 technically is like your normal. And I was sharing with some of the ITF members, let's declare victory at a certain point. Sana bago bumaba si President Duterte, we have to celebrate one day, Now we were able to bring these cases down at tuloy-tuloy na to, So yes, there is always a chance that another variant can come. Pero ngayon, I think this government has achieved a milestone, of really bringing down the cases. And nakikita natin lang mga neighbors natin tumataas sa mga kaso na, pero ang Pilipinas bumabagsak,
Yeah, Sir Joey, I think all of the people here in the Philippines value and recognize the efforts of our government with regard to this pandemic. So things are really getting heated up now, but in Straight Talk, mga katribo. But before we continue our chat with Sir Joey Concepcion, we'll take a short break.
latest entertainment at sa mga paborito nyong celebrities kasama si Pocholo Concepcion sa programang WhatsApp. Makibanding at kwentuhan kasama ang mga kilalang personalidad sa entertainment industry. Sama-sama natin silang kilalanin at silipin ang makulay nilang mundo every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Kaya sit back and relax lang kayo mga katribu. Hanapin at ilike ang Daily Tribune Facebook page at Tribune Now on YouTube. Dahil sagot na namin ang masayang kwentuhan dito lang sa WhatsApp. This public service advisory is brought to you by Daily Tribune and 100.3 RJFM.
Oh, vaccination, isolation, gotta keep up with my nutrition, gotta maintain my body condition, then I can take my vaccination. What do I choose? What do I take? As long as it is not a fake. AstraZeneca, Moderna, BioNTech, even Sinovac, okay na. Pababakuna ka ba? 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 Vaccination for the nation, no more isolation. With vaccination, pababakuna ka ba? Pababakuna ka ba? Pababakuna
This public service advisory is brought to you by Daily Tribune and 100.3 RJFM. Ang Daily Tribune may digital shows na din. Dahil sa mas lumalaki at mas lumalakas nating tribu, handog sa inyo ng Daily Tribune ang mga programang magbibigay buhay araw-araw. Be informed at mag-good vibes tuwing umaga sa programang Gising Na. Be updated sa news and happenings sa Tribune News on Cue. Mas kilalanin pa natin ang mga paborito nyong atleta sa programang The Athletes Tribune. Alamin ang latest entertainment sa programang What's Up. Ma-inspire sa mga kwentong hatid ng Perfect. Search lang ang Daily Tribune sa inyong Facebook at Tribune Now on YouTube. See you there mga katribu!
Welcome back to Straight Talk mga katribu. Still with us is the Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurship, Mr. Joey Concepcion. Welcome back, Sir Joey. Sir Joey, we were talking about the Ukraine and Russia conflict. Now, the DFA has already extended its invite to those who would want to seek refuge here in the Philippines. Siyempre, matagal na ho tayong tumutulong talaga sa mga refugees from other areas. Do you think, sir, that what effect would that give to our economy if indeed we start taking in refugees, sir?
Well, I think it's a good decision na tumutulong tayo sa mga who are suffering in Ukraine because of this crisis, no? As to whether it will benefit the economy, it's hard to say, no? Kung what do you call this, Filipinos coming back, no? Or are these Ukrainians wanting to move to the Philippines, no? So, but most Ukrainians, I think, are being helped by the neighboring countries around the area, no? I think Ukrainians are very loyal to their country, no? So, but Filipinos coming back, definitely, many of our OFWs who have been abroad, medyo they've been very successful in sa mga negosyo all over the world. So definitely, malaking bagay rin yan if they decide to come home and start a business, no? If they feel that this is an alternative to them, no?
Okay. Sir Joey, before the commercial break, I was reading my notes. I forgot to ask you one question. If you would rate the economic strategies that we have done during this pandemic, if you can rate it from 1 to 10, yung paano po yung Pilipinas sa atin during the pandemic, how would you rate it and why?
Well, let's put it this way. I'd say it's anywhere between, in terms of economic strategy, no? From the very start, actually, of the Duterte administration with Secretary Dominguez taking its leadership in the economic team, I think we one of the best economic secretaries, finance secretaries who has really steered this country. Prior to the pandemic, our growth was phenomenal, no? And our debt to GDP was as low as 35%, below 40%, no? Which is a great accomplishment, and our investment grade rating has been maintained, no? So that's good. Now, as COVID hit us, Secretary Dominguez ensured that we had enough lines, no, to be able to borrow the necessary funding for our, what do you call this, vaccines and all of the expenses that are incurred, no, in this pandemic, which are huge, no, from PCR testing equipment to antigen. Of course, the private sector nag-donate din kami, pero yung bulk of the spending, of course, was done by the government. Now, that amounted to a huge amount, no? And what is good is they have fought hard to push really this alert level to a much lower level, no, like alert level 1. So I think in general, despite the challenge of this pandemic, I would say we fared pretty well. And considering that the rest of the team, what I worked with Secretary Galvez, Vince Dizon, Secretary Duque, and of course, Chairman Abalos of MDA, the whole team, no, was very good in trying to really work with the private sector. My ability to really harness the efforts of the private sector was possible only because of the great relationship that we had, no? And where the private sector, Ricky Razon, our group, the Dose of Hope, really participated in securing vaccines for our own employees. And I believe the Philippines is the only country in the world that the private sector went out to purchase vaccines for its employees. So teamwork was really key, and you can see that 1 year after, and I saw this text from Secretary Galvez that he appreciates what has been accomplished in 1 year from the time the vaccines were ordered till delivery and till the execution. No? So we see the results, which is lower cases. That is just, people say, it just went down. No, because this was all planned. This was not just chamba. When we called for the lockdown last year in 2021, in August, to save the fourth quarter, that was the turning point. Because what the private sector wanted to see is that our fourth quarter last year becomes a very strong quarter. And true enough, 7.7 growth rate in the fourth quarter, because we and the government pushed. There was a call, we pushed for an early lockdown, and Secretary Galvez and Lorenzana and the rest of them supported that move. It was not a, you have to understand, private sector will not want a lockdown. No? It's saying, I want to close my business.
Yes.
So we closed it for 3 weeks. No? So those are situations that has resulted to where we are today. And I'd say I'd give 10 for, to this administration and of course the private sector for where we are today, in the best spot, considering our neighbors, their cases are really moving up.
I have to agree with you, Sir Joey, kasi no one really foresaw na dadating ho yung pandemya sa atin. And the way that the government really handled our economy, yung sa pagbibigay ng social amelioration na funds sa ating mga kababayan, malaking bagay na ho yun. That in itself is a victory. So, ang question ko naman, sir, dahil we're starting to try to ease back na sa new normal, so to speak. Ngayon, sir, what do you think would be the effect? Kasi marami hong nagsasabi from the private sector and those that would want to be in the Philippine sphere of businesses na parang i-change na po yung 60-40 ownership. Kasi po, pag more investors, more economy, more businesses, more jobs. What is your opinion to that, sir? Especially so that you are the presidential advisor for entrepreneurship, sir.
Well, of course, I'm for, more investments. And the equity sharing can be changed. To me, if foreigners come in, then we compete. Basta level playing field, walang problema. But what I'm trying to say is that let's protect our MSMEs in these sectors that the MSMEs are thriving. Let's ensure that what we do not dislocate our MSMEs. In where they are right now. In fact, the whole digitalization actually enhanced our MSMEs, especially in this pandemic. Dito sa Amerika, yung digitalization talagang affected many businesses here kasi halos they're at the mature stage of digitalization. So you can see there are a lot of retail stores, closing shop in America because everybody has just shop at home. Wala nang lumalabas dyan na very few go to the malls. Kaya yung mga malls dito medyo mahina, matumal. Yung mga big department stores, marami nagsarado na rin. So, because of digitalization here. But in the Philippines, it's a different story. Because of Paymaya, GCash, the e-wallets, talagang many MSMEs really scaled up. Kaya, for example, like in telecom, that's a huge investment that is required. I think we should allow more investors to come to the country. Either they can partner with locals, or if they want to go on their own, they can. So, I think everybody's open to a more vibrant economy. And if that capital is what is needed, then we should make it attractive for them to invest in the Philippines.
Sir, for the benefit of our viewers and listeners, sir, as I understand, digital economy is really talagang umaangat na po with sa ating mga neighboring countries, with America, with Europe. Now, the Philippines is also getting into that. Ngayon, sir, for the benefit of our viewers and listeners, how do you think the MSMEs and the possible digital economy, parang how can they be harmonized so that we can reach our potential economically?
Well, kasi in the Philippines, yung advantage, dati, wala tayong mga credit cards. In America, the reason why the digital platforms really boomed, kasi lahat ng Americans have credit cards. So, anong nangyari sa atin, cash payment through e-wallets. No? So, that took the form of the credit card. Kaya, it really, you can see the transactions in all of these e-wallets of Globe especially, and Paymaya and other wallets are actually the ones creating this velocity and opportunity for MSMEs. No? So all of these platforms from Food Panda to, there's so many platforms out there that do delivery, that do food, that do everything. They are actually helping our MSMEs greatly, no? Especially in this pandemic. Some of them lost their stores, but they're still able to sell digitally their food products or whatever products they produce or services. No? So, malaking bagay yung transformation natin sa digital platforms and digitalization. So, and that, to me, yung key is because of the e-wallet. Kung wala ang e-wallet, mas matagal at mas mahirapan yung Pilipinas na to move towards the digitalization. America was in other countries dahil sa credit card. Dito sa atin, parang debit card na rin yan, GCash or Paymaya. So, pero cash na rin yan, pero it's done at a very convenient way. No? Parang credit card na rin yan. The transactions are very quick. No? You can send payment immediately. So that is what really turned things around and help many of our micro and small entrepreneurs survive. No?
Joey, earlier I said that everybody have recognized and valued the concerted efforts of our government into battling this pandemic that we are having currently. Now, do you think, sir, all of those efforts have prepared us for the next one? If ever, wag naman ho sana, pero do you think it has prepared us for whatever that would be coming in, if any?
Well, I think we are better prepared now. Nakita natin yung teamwork ng private at public sector. So malaking bagay rin yan. At I think the president chose the right people to man, the efforts here in this pandemic. Of course, Secretary Galvez, his passion really and his team in trying to really get these vaccines. So we worked very well with him because the private sector, our objective was also to vaccinate the population as fast as possible, because vaccination prevents really hospitalization, because whether Omicron is mild, but prior to Omicron, yung Delta and Alpha was more serious type of illness, the vaccine still helped. No? So malaking bagay yung teamwork natin with the national government. So moving forward, I think we have that experience, especially the private sector. We now know how to manage our situation. 2 years in this pandemic, we have learned a lot. No, I've learned a lot. I'm not a doctor, but I've learned a lot, and I think what is good is we have interacted very well, even sa private sector. Siyempre, hindi naman lahat kami sang-ayon sa isang direksyon. Last year, when I called the lockdown, about 30% were against that, but I still pushed for it. The result was good. But so it is really getting the private sector also came together, no, and worked together to help the government. Yun ang key. Now, under the next administration, if a new Delta variant will come in, I think we will be much better prepared, no, for this next one, if it does. And hopefully, siguro dapat tama na muna. We should focus na lang on the economy. That is what we have to strengthen. in the next months to come. No?
Sir, earlier you said na this current administration deserves parang a day to celebrate all of the efforts. Kasi syempre ho, it was not easy. It was not an easy fit to do handling it, taking care of our people. And now you speak of, sir, syempre sa next administration. Sir, papalapit na po ang election natin. Do you think this election, well, this campaign period, makakadagdag din ho ito ng economy, ng economic boost sa ating mga Pilipino? And if yes, how so, sir?
Well, normally in an election, there is always what we call election spending, which somehow helps to some extent the economy. No? I mean, hindi ko alam ngayon if how much, no? But there is some help because they give out food, mga pagkain, and all of these donations that go to those running, they spend it, no? For materials, for campaign materials and whatever. So there, to some extent, there is some lift, no? But not major. Hindi katulad ng Christmas at ibang kwan. But what is good about this election is that it what do you call this? It renews confidence again. No? We vote for new leaders who have the vision of steering our country moving forward, depending on who you vote for, and it's anybody's choice. No, the freedom to choose is exercised on this day of election. So, malaking bagay rin yan. It's a confidence boosting that when you elect a leader, parang may bagong team, no, na papasok. Siyempre, baka ilan sa previous administration that there might be some continuity, but in general, it brings in another beginning, and hopefully they're building, the next administration will be building from the success of what this administration has done. And by and large, I would say that the programs that have been done were effective and good, and that's why the president's rating is quite high. No? So there are good things that we have to continue, which the Duterte administration has done, and especially in this pandemic, the current team succeeded. No, we have succeeded in really quelling Omicron and now moving towards endemic. So let us follow through the success, no, of what this administration has done. No? In other words, we have laid ground the right framework, no, and that's the reason why we are here where we are today, no, because of these efforts, no, of both the public sector and the private sector. So the new leadership will just, hopefully work with the current teams in the private sector, and with the new people joining government, hopefully we can work well with them to ensure that the efforts that were started and implemented very well continue. So we can continue to maintain the health situation for the Philippines for an indefinite period. No?
Sir Joey, I concur with you na syempre we have to do continuity nga pagka syempre maganda yung nangyari, the effects have been good, it has benefited a lot of our people here in the Philippines. Now, Sir Joey, I believe this is a question that would be personal. Ngayon, sir, hopefully you would give me an answer and not just say no. Pero who do you think will be best suited for the country's economic recovery based on their goals and initiatives during previous presidential debates, particularly the candidate talks of Go Negosyo?
Well, in the candidate talks of Go Negosyo, which is still ongoing, we had the first phase of presidentials that talk, and I would say all of them had good inputs. No, unfortunately, Mayor Isko could not make it, so we could not hear his views. But the rest, I would say, had good plans. But as I shared this in the press, what I saw was that both Leni Robredo and BBM had very clear plans on what they would do for our MSMEs. No? In the case of Leni, she has aligned with our programs for the past so many years with her Angat Buhay, and of course Senator Bamakino, who is an advocate of Go Negosyo, works closely with Lenny. So Lenny understands the game. With regards to Marcos, I was also impressed with his plans and his focus on MSMEs. And he understands that, well, business, big business, what do you call this, employs a lot of people and has great magnitude. But bulk, the number of MSMEs in the business community is like 99%. Yung malaki, mga 1% lang yan. Pero of course, our contribution to the GDP is huge because these are huge conglomerates. So we have to really elevate the lives of our MSMEs. No? So he has committed to really pursue elevating our MSMEs. They cannot be stuck as micro forever. Dapat umangat sila to become small and then one day medium. So I think both Lenny and BBM spent more time in discussing this. Senator Pacquiao, of course, has the heart for our MSMEs because he came from there. He knows the struggle of being poor because he came from that. He was poor once upon a time, and as a boxer became successful and quite magnanimous when he comes and gives money to many people. No, he lives in our village, so every Christmas there's a long line in his house. So I think what he has the heart. What he needs to get is a good advisor, no, that can guide him through on the programs for MSMEs. So, but in general, I mean, all of them. See, Lacson could not also make it, but we had he set a date. But all of them wanted to come, but of course, it's a matter of timing of schedule. We have another one that is being run by Go Negosyo on Channel 5 that is ongoing. I think this time all have confirmed. We're hoping that BBM would confirm his attendance in this part 2 that we're doing. But by and large, I believe that all of them understand the role MSMEs play. No, that's very clear. And those who are leading in the ratings, I think the challenge really is that it's time to really focus on creating prosperity for every Filipino out there. Whoever has a solid plan to create greater prosperity for all Filipinos, I believe will win in this election.
Sir Joey, would it be fair if I ask you who is your favorite amongst them?
Let's put it this way. I prefer to, give the public that choice. I have shared with you who I think has well thought of their plans for MSMEs. It doesn't mean that those who have no plans will not have plans. I'm sure they will eventually have plans. But look at the heart of all of these candidates who are running for the vice president or the president or even the senators out there. Who is the most sincere in really wanting to help our poor people? The challenge in this country is the level of poverty is still quite high. And the people at the CDE level, we have to find a way how to help them go up that ladder. And karamihan dito ay mga micro at small entrepreneurs. So how do we help them in financing their business? Maraming tulong ngayon dito sa administration on mentorship. So yun ang our group is helping mentor with the efforts of DTI and DA and DOT. We have connected with the entire chain of DTI and DA. Yun ang kagalingan ngayon, the public-private partnership in getting us, the entrepreneurs, to send mentors, no, to all these MSMEs. Pero the task is so huge. These are millions of maliit na negosyante, no, that are out there that we are trying to help. So I believe each one will be able to discern who the right leader will be, and I believe, and we should give everybody a chance. No, Lenny herself, has worked hard. She is an inspiration to many. BBM, of course, he's like myself. No, my father started NAMFEL, no, and I found myself starting Go Negosyo, which is helping the poor. So I'm sure BBM will also want to show that he will create his own legacy, and that legacy will create an impact if he focuses on the less privileged of our Filipino people. And I'm sure all the other candidates will focus on the less fortunate. No? And I think once we're able to do this in a concerted manner, then the Philippines can truly be a more successful country by sharing the wealth with the less fortunate, in not giving them money, but allowing them to prosper through their own businesses. No? And marami dyan maliit na negosyante. And of course, the workers out there who are working very hard, of course, we have to see them up and rise up. No? And that can only happen if the economy does well, and companies will be able to profit and share that profit with their employees. No? But the country has to do better. So if we continue to grow as a country, then that wealth will be shared by the rest. And I hope our leadership will see to it that this wealth will be shared by more Filipino people. And they have to discern as to who among these candidates who are running for president or vice president are deserving or who have a great plan to alleviate the lives of more Filipino people.
Sir Joey, I share your sentiments in connection with the MSMEs. Last weekend, I was in another province in Ilocos Sur, and I've talked to the governor there, and he was like, "Yeah, I could ask big businesses to come in, invest, but how about our MSMEs?" So the priority is to help those MSMEs be alleviated from their current situation. And your sentiments are clearly very well imbued by leaders and the private sector alike. So with that, Sir Joey, do you have any parting words to our viewers and listeners as to the opening of Alert Level 1? And of course, you've shared already the discernment that they have to practice and exercise during this election period. So what are your parting words, Sir Joey?
Well, for our Filipino people, let's be happy that in a way, we have been blessed that our cases have gone down. I think we are seeing the light at the end of the tunnel get brighter, and I believe we're moving towards an endemic state. Now, what is important is huwag tayong maging overconfident. No, we have to continue to ensure that our immunity stays intact. After months, babagsak yung immunity natin. Those vaccines don't last forever. Kaya importante yung booster shot. Kunin na natin yung booster shot, and that so that the wall of immunity at sinasabi ni Sec. Galvez ay tuloy-tuloy. No? Now, after that booster shot, we will see how will there be another one or will it be something different. No? But right now, the reason why we're able to bring and open up everything in this country is because we are able to manage the health situation. The moment the health situation deteriorates, then balik tayo ulit sa mga alert levels. No? Dapat tapusin na natin itong alert level. Let's kill it. In other words, eventually, hopefully, the alert level system will disappear, which means that the pandemic is over. So that we are almost there, not quite there yet, but we have to not be overconfident. We have to do what we have to do and take those vaccines because yun ang malaking solution. Of course, if you get sick, may natural immunity kayo. Pero why will you want to just get sick, no? To have the immunity, you can take the vaccine which is available. So maraming salamat, and maski may gera ngayon sa Russia at Ukraine, and that is affecting us, kaya we are really pushing that the Philippine economy becomes a lot stronger and more resilient, so that if something goes wrong, wag naman sana na mas malubha ang mangyayari dito sa gera na to. We are prepared as a country.
Sir Joey, safe to say is dapat simulaan at i-end natin lahat ito sa pagpoprotekta ng ating health, kasi yun po talagang pinaka-importante, and we believe you na once the health of our people deteriorate, then babalik na naman ho tayo dyan. And we thank you for a wonderful interview today, Mr. Joey Concepcion, and sana ho may next time pa rin po, sir.
Anytime. Salamat rin, Lia.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Watch Straight Talk live every Tuesday at 10 a.m. on Daily Tribune's official Facebook page and on Tribune Now on YouTube. I'm Atty. Lia Badillo-Crisostomo, and this has been Straight Talk.